Okie dokie. On the last video, we talked about the characteristics of life. All living things are going to have a need for energy. They're going to reproduce, they're going to grow, they're going to have cells, they're going to respond to the environment. All of these make the characteristics of life. Now, this one here, need for energy. This is going to describe one of the most important sets of concepts in all of life, in all of biology, the need for energy. How are living things going to have energy? Where do they get that energy? Okay, right here I have some delicious chocolates. Now, these chocolates right here, if I eat these chocolates, I am going to get some kind of energy. I'm going to get the ability to do work. My cells process them, and I can move around, or more than likely just store it as fat. But where does the energy right here in this candy, in these chocolates, where does it come from? Well, the simple answer is it comes from the sun. Okay? Now, the energy from the sun is billions and billions of years old, and it's releasing all kinds of forms of energy into our planet. But the most important one that we are going to talk about is visible light. Okay? Visible light, gives all of everything its colors. It comes from the sun and gives all things color, or even lack of color. And what's going to happen is these energy forms from the sun are going to travel down, and they are going to be captured by plants. Nice little flower here. Of course, it has to have a smiley face. Now, through photosynthesis, that plant is going to grow. That plant is going to have energy to do work. It's going to store energy in its leaves and its fruit for us to eat, or even, be made into chocolate for us to eat. Now, another creature, like a human, can come along and let's give them some nice swim trunks there. A human can come along and they eat the plant and they get energy that the plant has created that at one point came from the sun. So sun, plant, human. And these processes of transferring energy from non-living sources to living sources are super important. So let's take a look at them. The first process we are going to learn is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Okay, the prefix photo means light, synthesis means to make something. Okay, so like photograph, a picture made out of light. Photosynthesis is making usable sugars, usable food out of sunlight. And this is the way it happens. So plants or algae or, little bacteria or whatever creature that's going through photosynthesis inside of its cells is first of all going to bring in CO2. That's carbon dioxide. That's one carbon atom bonded to two oxygen atoms to make carbon dioxide. Okay? Then we are going to bring in water, H2O. When we're giving chemical formulas, whatever's over here on the left side of the arrow, those are called the reactants. That's what we start with. And then we create the products. The products are on the right side over here. So anyway, carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide typically is going to be brought in through the leaves of these plants. The water is typically going to be brought in through the roots of the plants. And then they take sunlight. Okay, we're going to put sunlight on top of the little arrow right here. This is an energy source that comes into our reaction. So carbon dioxide and water combine with sunlight. Sunlight actually gives the energy to break these molecules apart, to release the oxygens or the hydrogens or the carbons. And inside the plant cells, specifically in an organelle called the chloroplast, we are going to go through photosynthesis. All the energy from the sun is going to be used to break these apart and rebuild a molecule called C6H12O6. This is glucose sugar, okay? There's many types of sugars, but the simplest, or one of the simplest forms right here, C6H12O6, okay? Now, the carbon here, that came from the carbon dioxide, hydrogen came from these hydrogens, oxygen from here and here, and the plant recombines all these things in photosynthesis to build its food source. Its food source is this sugar. but also there's a little bit of waste, and that waste is O2. This is oxygen gas. This is a very important component of our atmosphere. It helps to keep our atmosphere a little bit cooler, because if it was all carbon dioxide, we'd be very, very, very warm. So the plant or the producer is going to bring in carbon dioxide and water, combine it with the energy from the sun. It's going to break these molecules apart and recombine them as a high energy sugar, this food source right here, and oxygen. This oxygen is going to be released by the leaves and breathed in by humans or any other kind of animal, or even the plant when it goes through cellular respiration itself. So the next part we need to talk about is the idea of cellular respiration, Cellular, respiration, Respiration. Okay, and basically this is breathing in the cell, breathing for a purpose to produce something super useful. It's also going to be a chemical reaction. In any chemical reaction, we have an arrow showing the direction that it goes. Over here on the left, we have our reactants, and over here on the right, we have our products. Now, the neat thing about cellular respiration, it's flip-flopped of photosynthesis, okay? So the products become the reactants, and the reactants become the products, and I'll show you exactly what happens, okay? So if we think about cellular respiration, it of course happens in plants, but let's talk about it happening in this human right here. This human does not have the ability to use sunlight. If you go outside, you get sunburned, and you can process a little bit of sunlight to make a vitamin called vitamin D. But the thing is, we don't have the ability to use this energy source. We have to use a food energy source, and that food energy source is going to come from right here. It's going to come from our glucose sugar. So if I take a bite of this plant, I am eating C6H12O6. I'm eating that sugar, okay? Now, that can be in the form of a root like a carrot, or a fruit like an apple, or a leaf like spinach, or something like that. But I'm ingesting the products of photosynthesis, C6H12O6. That's glucose sugar. But also, in my process of breathing, I'm breathing in oxygen gas, okay? I'm breathing in oxygen gas. I'm combining that in my cells, specifically in my mitochondria, with this sugar. I'm breaking it down. I'm going to deconstruct this big glucose sugar molecule, and I'm going to do the following. I go over here to my product side. That's on the right side. There it is. Over here to the product side of my reaction here. And what I'm going to get is I'm going to get water, H2O, water waste. The hydrogen came from here. The oxygens came from there. I'm going to get my old friend CO2, carbon dioxide. That's the same carbon dioxide that plants are going to breathe in. It's just a big, huge cycle here. And most importantly, I'm going to get a molecule called adenosine triphosphate, ATP, okay? ATP is a very, very, very high energy molecule that I move around my cells to move energy from one place to another. Basically, it's going to have 3 phosphate groups bonded together, and then when I need to use energy, all I have to do is kick one off, and it releases a lot of chemical energy. So, how do we have the ability to do work? By creation of usable energy. Most energy on the planet starts at the sun. It's captured by producers like plants that use photosynthesis to use the energy from the sun, carbon dioxide, and water to build sugars. These are essentially food. These food products, can be turned into delicious chocolates or fruits, vegetables, whatever. They contain a lot of energy, but that energy has to be broken down in cellular respiration to release our friend ATP. ATP is the energy currency of the cell that moves all around living things.